If you want to join Thanksgiving, come wash the dishes. Her voice sliced through the phone like cheap glass. My daughter-in-law didn't even bother to hide the laughter behind her words. I could hear plates clattering in the background. Family noise, celebration, mockery. I looked at the alpine sunlight spilling across. The marble floors of my villa in Switzerland. Snow resting on distant peaks. Silence worth millions. I replied with one word. Enjoy! Then I sent the photos. The terrace overlooking Lake Geneva. The wine cellar carved into stone. The black Aston Martin resting like a predator in the driveway. 71 missed calls in 13 minutes. Desperation has a ringtone. 5 years ago, they left me bleeding in a ravine after a business trip. With my wife and my worst enemy. 5 years ago, she told the police I had stormed off drunk. 5 years ago, she married him before the soil on my supposed grave settled. Now she was calling too. I let it ring. Revenge is patient, and I had learned patience in the dark. Before the ravine, there were signs. Small fractures in the glass. She had started smiling at her phone. Not at me. At something inside it. Late-night client calls. Perfume on days she claimed she worked from home. A softness in her voice when she said his name. Arman, my business partner. My childhood rival. The man who lost every deal to me and laughed about it as if losing was strategy. He came over often. Too often. They never touched in front of me. They didn't have to. Energy betrays what hands conceal. One night I woke to an empty bed. I found her downstairs on the patio, whispering. I can't keep lying to him, she said. Silence. Then, after the merger, not divorce, merger. When she came back to bed, she curled against me like she always had. Warm, familiar. I stared at the ceiling and understood something terrifying. They weren't planning to leave me. They were planning to replace me. I didn't confront her. I didn't accuse. I kissed her forehead the next morning and made her coffee. I watched. When Armin suggested the celebratory hiking trip, in the mountains after signing the expansion deal, I agreed without hesitation. They thought greed blinded me. It didn't. It clarified everything. I prepared quietly. I transferred assets into offshore trusts, liquidated holdings, rewrote insurance policies. Then I hired a private investigator. Not to confirm the affair, to understand the depth of it. Hotel receipts, private flights under aliases, a rented apartment downtown registered to a shell company Armin controlled. Photos arrived in manila envelopes. Her laughing on a balcony, his hand on her waist. A kiss. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sorrow. Just the slow rearranging of reality. I installed tracking software on her tablet. Reviewed bank transfers at 2 a.m. while she slept beside me. They were moving money. My money. To accounts I had once created for future expansion. Expansion, indeed. Then came the insurance update request. Armand insisted we both increase our policies before the mountain trip. Standard corporate protection, he said. The beneficiary listed for mine? My wife. And in small print, a secondary transfer agreement to Armand in case of shared ventures. They had drafted my disappearance into paperwork. Clean, legal, profitable. I signed. But I replaced the documents with my own version before submission. Names matter. Dates matter. Survival matters more. On the mountain trail, I walked ahead. They walked behind. I heard the gravel shift before the push came. Pain exploded. Then nothing. Except I didn't die. A rescue team found me days later. Hypothermic, broken, invisible. The newspapers declared me lost. My wife cried publicly. Armin held her. They married within the year. I watched from another country, under another name, rebuilding, waiting. 5 years later, I walked into their charity gala, alive. Conversations died mid-sentence. Her champagne glass slipped from her hand. Armand's face drained of blood. Ghosts are inconvenient. I approached them slowly. No, she whispered. Yes, I said. I handed Armin a folder. Inside were copies of the altered insurance policies, the original wire transfers, evidence of embezzlement routed through his accounts. And one more thing. The divorce papers she had signed 3 days before the mountain. Trip. Documents she never knew had been legally filed once. I regained consciousness. She hadn't been my wife when they tried to kill me. She had been a conspirator. He opened his mouth to speak. I raised a hand. Careful. My voice didn't shake. I own 70% of the companies you're using. Silent acquisitions. You've been paying me dividends for 3 years. Her eyes filled with something between fear and awe. You planned this? She breathed. No, I replied. You did. Security approached. Not for me. For him. Fraud investigations had been triggered an hour earlier. Timing is an art. She found me outside the ballroom. Alone. Finally honest. Why didn't you just leave? She asked. Because I loved you once. Because I wanted to believe I was wrong. Because betrayal is more educational than business school. But I didn't say that. Instead, I showed her my phone. Photos of the villa. The mountains. The life rebuilt without her. I lost everything, she whispered. No, I corrected gently. You gambled everything. Armin was being escorted through a side exit, shouting about lawyers. She looked smaller without his shadow. What do you want? She asked. Nothing. That was the most devastating answer I could give. I don't hate you, I added. And I meant it. Hate requires attachment. I had none left. The charges would bury him financially. Her assets, tied to his, would freeze. Public sympathy would evaporate once the evidence surfaced. They hadn't lost me to the mountain. They had handed me motive and time. Back in Switzerland, snow falls differently, quieter. My phone doesn't ring anymore. 71 calls turned into silence once they realized I would never answer. Sometimes I think about that night on the patio. Her whisper. I can't keep lying to him. She was right. She couldn't. Truth has gravity. It pulls everything down eventually. I didn't crush her with rage. I crushed her with absence. With preparation, with patience. The mountain didn't kill me. It refined me. I lost a wife. I lost a name. I lost the illusion that love protects you. In return, I gained clarity and control. Revenge isn't fire. It's ice, and I have never felt warmer.